The massive radar screen at Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station blinked with an unusual pattern. Tom Baker, the night shift operator, leaned forward in his chair, his coffee forgotten. He had worked at this facility for 15 years, but he'd never seen anything like this before. His fingers hovered over the console, trying to make sense of the strange signal. Something felt different about this, something urgent. "Sir, you need to see this," Tom called out to his supervisor. Commander James Miller, a seasoned officer with more than 30 years of military service, walked over, his boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. Tall, with gray hair and sharp eyes, Miller had seen more than his share of strange things in his time. But even he paused, staring at the screen in front of him. He didn't need to ask what Tom was referring to. The signal was unlike anything he'd ever seen. "How long has this been coming in?" Miller asked, his voice calm but laced with curiosity. "About 10 minutes, sir," Tom replied, his voice tight. "It's not random space noise. There's a clear pattern to it." Miller nodded slowly, his mind processing the situation. "Call Dr. Wright from the science division," he ordered. Within 30 minutes, the small control room was filled with experts. Dr. Anna Wright, a woman in her 40s wearing a wrinkled lab coat, stood before the main screen, her eyes moving quickly as she studied the signal patterns. She typed furiously on her keyboard, her expression intense. "This is artificial," she announced after a few moments. "Someone out there is trying to talk to us." The room fell silent. The weight of her words settled heavily on everyone. It was the moment humanity had longed for, yet feared. First contact. But now the question was, what did the message say and who was sending it? "Can you decode it?" Miller asked, his voice steady but his gaze betraying the magnitude of the moment. Dr. Wright typed rapidly, her fingers a blur across the keys. The screen displayed increasingly complex mathematical sequences. "The pattern suggests it's using mathematical sequences as a base," she muttered to herself, brow furrowing as she worked. "Give me some time." Hours passed. The signal continued to repeat itself, its message persistent and unyielding. The sun rose over the station's desert location, casting long shadows across the floor, but still, no one moved from their posts. No one left, not even for food. Then, just as the day reached its peak, Dr. Wright suddenly stood up straight. "Got it!" she exclaimed, her voice slightly shaky with excitement and fear. "And you're not going to like what it says." The decoded message appeared on the main screen for all to see. "Danger. A pro-HCJ. The swarm comes. 1 Earth year to prepare. We've FA to stop them. You must not fail. They consume all." Miller read the message 3 times, his face tightening with each pass. His eyes flickered between Dr. Wright and the screen. "Are you sure about this translation?" he asked. "Yes," she replied, her tone certain now. "The mathematics is clear. This is a warning from another civilization." Miller picked up his secure phone. "Get me the president," he ordered, his mind racing. He didn't need to be told how dire this situation was. He knew. In a matter of hours, every major government on Earth would receive the warning. The United Nations called an emergency session for the first time in history. Never before had every country agreed on a single course of action. Earth needed to prepare. As Miller walked out of the station that evening, he looked up at the sky. The stars, once peaceful and full of promise, now seemed distant, cold. Somewhere out there, something was coming. Something that had already defeated advanced alien civilizations. Earth had 1 year to prepare, if that. "Sir," Tom called from behind him. Miller turned. "What is it, Tom?" "There's more to the signal," Tom said urgently. Dr. Wright found another part. Miller quickly turned back to the screen. New words appeared. "We gave you gifts long ago. Find them. Use them. Survive. You are not alone. But you must be strong." Miller raised an eyebrow. "Gifts?" he muttered. "What gifts?" Dr. Wright, still standing at the console, pointed to a map she had pulled up on the screen. "I've traced some unusual energy readings. They're coming from deep under the Antarctic ice," she said, her voice steady despite the urgency of the situation. "They've always been there, but we never knew what they were. Miller looked at the map, then back at the warning message. A sudden realization hit him. Maybe, just maybe, there was hope. Maybe humanity wasn't entirely alone in this fight. He straightened his uniform, a new resolve forming in his chest. "Dr. Wright, pack your winter gear. We're going to Antarctica." As they prepared for the mission, none of them noticed a small light moving across the night sky. A scout from the swarm already watching, already planning. The next morning, as the sun rose over Earth, humanity's last normal day ended. The time of preparation had begun. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, ancient machines that had lain dormant for millennia began to hum, waiting to be found. The United Nations building had never been so quiet. Leaders from every country sat together, watching a giant screen as Commander Miller stood at the front, showing them the alien warning message. "Ladies and gentlemen," Miller said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation, "we have 1 year, maybe less. We need to work together, or we will all die together." For once, no one argued. The Russian president stood first. "Russia's military is ready," he said. "China stands with Earth," announced the Chinese leader. One by one, every nation joined. Old enemies shook hands. Past wars were forgotten. Within a single day, they created the Earth Defense Initiative (EDI). Meanwhile, in Antarctica, Dr. Wright and her team fought against bitter cold and howling winds. Their machines had detected something 3 miles beneath the ice. As they drilled down, their equipment picked up strange energy readings. "Commander Miller," Dr. Wright spoke into her radio. "We found something." The drill finally broke through into a large cave. As lights flooded the space, the team gasped in awe. Before them stood a massive metal door, covered in strange symbols. It looked new, yet it was thousands of years old. "It's warm to the touch," Dr. Wright reported, her hand on the metal. "And there's power running through it." The United Nations coordinated the global response with urgency. Every factory on Earth shifted into overdrive, producing weapons, ships, and everything necessary for survival. Scientists across the globe pooled their knowledge, sharing top-secret projects, and space agencies combined their resources. Aid rushed to Antarctica as Dr. Wright's team made a critical breakthrough. They finally got the massive door open. The video feed from the Antarctic base streamed to the world, showing a vast room filled with alien technology. Massive shields, energy weapons, and strange machines lined the walls. But it wasn't just the weapons that caught everyone's attention. Scrawled on the floor, in what looked like ancient script, was another message. "To Earth's children, Conure Guards LV is tools the swarm fears them. Learn, adapt, improve, survive." Dr. Wright's voice came through the radio, filled with excitement and awe. "Commander, these aren't just weapons. They're teaching tools. The aliens didn't just give us technology. They gave us the knowledge to make it better." Miller's expression softened for the first time in days. He hadn't realized it before, but this felt like more than a gift. It was a partnership, a chance for humanity to grow in ways no one had expected. "How long to understand it all?" he asked. "The instructions are surprisingly clear, like they were made specifically for humans to find," Dr. Wright replied. "Give us 3 months." Changes happened quickly across the globe. Orbital defense platforms rose into space, launching new satellites equipped with powerful shields. Underground cities were rapidly constructed to protect civilians, and what had once been an isolated research station in Antarctica became Guardian Site 1, the heart of Earth's new defense. Dr. Wright made another crucial discovery. "These weapons aren't just for defense," she explained to Miller over a video call. "The ancient aliens knew something about humans that we didn't even know about ourselves." She pointed to another piece of writing on the wall. "Look at this. Earth's children have a gift. They make things better. What takes us centuries, they do in years. Give them the seeds, and they will grow forests." Miller stared at the message, understanding. "They chose us because we adapt quickly." "Exactly," Dr. Wright confirmed. "We're already improving their technology. The shields are 30% stronger than the original design, and the weapons are more efficient. We're doing in months what would take other species decades." In orbit, the first human-built shield generator powered up. It was smaller than the alien design but far more powerful. Earth scientists had already made it better. The first test was a success. A thin blue shield surrounded Earth, like a protective bubble, casting a new sense of security over the planet. At the UN, Commander Miller addressed the world's leaders again. Phase 1 is complete. We have our shields, our weapons are ready, and the underground cities can protect our people. Now we wait. Back in Antarctica, Dr. Wright studied more alien messages. One in particular caught her eye. The swarm has never failed, but they have never met humans. She looked at the new, improved weapons her team had built. The aliens had been right, humans did make things better. Much better. As the sun set over Antarctica, Earth's new defense fleet conducted its first practice run. Thousands of ships, built by all nations working together, filled the sky. Their shields glowed with power. Power that no one on Earth had dreamed of just a few months ago. The swarm was coming, but Earth was no longer the same planet they had seen from afar. Humanity had taken the gifts of their ancient guardians and made them stronger. Now all they had to do was wait for the enemy to arrive. The world had changed faster than anyone had anticipated. Cities transformed into fortresses, skies filled with defense ships, and deep underground, new cities stood ready to shelter millions. At the EDI Earth Defense Initiative Command Center, Commander Miller watched the latest test of Earth's new weapons. An old satellite, acting as a target, was obliterated into dust when hit by one of the improved alien weapons. Better than we expected, the weapons officer commented. The aliens built good weapons. We made them great. Miller nodded, his face grim yet resolute. 6 months had passed since the warning, and 6 months remained until the swarm would arrive. In Antarctica, Dr. Wright had made another breakthrough. She ran into Miller's office, holding a glowing blue crystal in her hands. "Look at this," she said, placing the crystal on his desk. The crystal projected an image into the air. A recording of the swarm's ships, huge black masses that moved like angry insects. But Miller's eyes were drawn to something else. "Play that part again," he ordered. On the screen, a small ship destroyed one of the swarm's massive vessels with a single, well-placed shot. "How did they do that?" Miller asked, astonished. Dr. Wright smiled. "They hit the weak spot. Every swarm ship has one, right where their field generators connect. Hit that and the whole ship goes down." Miller's eyes gleamed with determination. "Send this to all our pilots," he commanded. "They need to know where to shoot." Across Earth, training continued day and night. Pilots learned how to fly the new ships, soldiers practiced with energy weapons, and scientists kept improving every aspect of their technology. One morning, Miller visited one of the underground cities. These weren't just shelters, they were complete towns with schools, hospitals, and farms. The cities were designed to hold millions of people for years if needed. "The food farms are working better than planned," one of the engineers reported. The work was relentless, but humanity was united. From the weapons to the cities, everything was designed to ensure survival. Humanity's new alliance with the ancient aliens had unlocked the potential to save the planet. But now, with the swarm closing in, it was up to them to use that power to defend Earth and protect their future. Bill, the city manager, stood proudly in front of the control panel, monitoring the alien farming systems. "We've changed them," he said. "Now they produce twice as much food in half the time." It was a clear example of humanity's strength. They didn't just copy alien technology, they improved it. The efficiency of the system had been a breakthrough that would help sustain Earth's growing population in the face of the coming war. In orbit, Earth's defense platforms were taking shape. They looked like steel flowers, arranged around the planet, each one carrying shields and weapons that were stronger than anything humanity had previously built. They would be Earth's first line of defense. The platforms were tested regularly, pushing their limits. Testing Platform 6, a technician's voice crackled over the intercom. Shield holding at 200% of alien specifications. The shield glowed blue, then gold, as the system was pushed to new limits. Earth's engineers had done it again, taking something built by an ancient race and making it better. Dr. Wright had been working with the pilot teams, training them on the swarm's tactics. They always attack in groups of 3, she explained, showing battle recordings of past encounters. But they don't expect creative thinking. That's their weakness. The pilots learned quickly. They adapted and devised new flight patterns, practiced maneuvers that no alien would anticipate. Earth's ships might be smaller, but they would be smarter. Beneath the ocean, more surprises awaited humanity. Ancient alien bases were discovered holding backup weapons and shields, all of which were quickly found, improved, and added to Earth's growing defense network. One evening, as Miller sat in his office, a question nagged at him. "I don't understand," he said to Dr. Wright, who was reviewing data. "Why didn't the aliens just give us their best weapons? Why all these teaching tools instead?" Dr. Wright showed him another message from their alien guardians. It read, "Best weapons are those you understand and improve. Give humans a sword, they make it sharper. Give them our tools, they make them stronger." Miller paused, understanding dawning. The aliens hadn't just given them technology, they had given humanity a way to enhance it, to make it their own. It wasn't just about the weapons. It was about what humanity could do with them. As the final months of preparation passed, Earth became a fortress. The shields were tested and ready, the weapons stronger than ever, and the underground cities were ready to shelter millions. Then, one night, as Miller stood outside the Antarctic base, gazing up at the stars, all the alien machines began humming at once. Dr. Wright rushed into the room with new readings. "Something big just entered our solar system," she said, her voice tight with tension. "And it's not alone." Miller's heart raced. He walked to the command center, his steps heavy but determined. On every screen, dots appeared at the edge of the solar system. The swarm had arrived earlier than expected. "Sound the alarms," Miller ordered. The time for preparation was over. It was time for battle. As the alarms rang out across the planet, Miller sent a single message to all of Earth's forces. "This is what we prepared for. Everyone to their stations. They're here." Across the world, millions watched as Commander Miller made his announcement on the news. "Citizens of Earth, the swarm has entered our solar system. They are earlier than expected. All civilians are to move to their assigned underground cities in a calm and orderly fashion. This is not a drill." At Guardian Site 1 in Antarctica, Dr. Wright studied the incoming data. Her brow furrowed as she analyzed the energy signatures. "Something's wrong," she said, her voice filled with concern. "These energy signatures, they're bigger than anything in the alien records." Outside, strange lights danced between the stars, and the swarm ships, now clearly visible through Earth's long-range cameras, resembled enormous dark clouds, moving against the blackness of space. They were heading for Mars, just as the alien records had predicted. "Activate the Mars defense grid," Miller ordered, his tone firm. Unknown to the swarm, humans had already built hidden weapons platforms around Mars. As the first swarm ships neared, these weapons powered up, ready for the first test of Earth's new defenses. Back on Earth, people were settling into the underground cities. The halls were filled with the sound of children playing, and adults were gathered around screens, watching the preparations for battle. The tension was palpable, but humanity had never been more united. A young officer's voice interrupted the calm. "Sir, incoming transmission from the swarm on the main screen." A strange symbol appeared on the screen. Dr. Wright rushed to decode it. "It's a demand for surrender," she said, reading the alien message. "They're offering to let us live if we give up now." Miller smiled grimly. "Send them our answer." The response was clear. Every defense platform, every ship, every weapon system powered up at once. The shields around Earth glowed bright blue, visible even from Mars. The message was unmistakable. "We are ready, and we will not surrender ****. As the swarm ships reached Mars, they expected an empty planet, an easy target. Instead, they were met with humanity's first surprise. The Mars platforms fired, their hidden weapons tearing into the approaching swarm ships. The first swarm vessel exploded in a brilliant flash. A cheer erupted in the command center. The alien technology, improved by human engineers, had worked even better than expected. But the swarm's response was swift. They weren't defeated so easily. The battle for Earth had begun. humanity had prepared, adapted, and improved in ways no one had imagined. And now they would face the full might of the swarm. But for the first time in history, Earth wasn't helpless. More swarm ships appeared, their dark forms blocking out the stars behind them as they moved closer, massing for their assault. They fired upon Mars, testing Earth's shield technology. Mars shields holding at 160%, reported the defense officer. They're hitting harder than the records showed, but we're still holding strong. Dr. Wright, who had been monitoring the situation closely, suddenly called for silence in the command center. With a look of urgency on her face, she decoded another message from the alien records. Her hands trembled as she read the message aloud, her voice steady but filled with gravity. To Earth's defenders, the swarm you face has grown stronger since our time, but so have you. Remember, they think as one, you think as many. This is your strength. Miller's eyes narrowed in understanding. The swarm operated like a massive hive, with a single mind controlling all the ships and soldiers. But humans were different. Every soldier, every pilot, every defender was an individual capable of thinking and acting on their own. Creativity and independence would be Earth's strength in this battle. Send this to all Earth forces, Miller commanded. Don't follow standard battle plans. Think for yourselves. Be creative. Be human. Around Mars, the battle raged on. The swarm lost more ships with each wave, but their numbers kept coming. The aliens were learning and adapting to Earth's weapons, trying to overcome humanity's defenses, but with every attack, Earth's defenders found new ways to counter their moves. Then suddenly the swarm pulled back. The alien ships began to retreat to the edge of Mars' orbit. The entire command center held its breath in anticipation. Why did they stop? Someone asked, unsure of the next move. Dr. Wright's voice broke the tension. They're calling for reinforcements, she said quietly, her eyes glued to the data. This was just their scout force. The main fleet is coming. Miller stood straight, his expression hardening. Then we'll be ready for them, too. He turned to the comms officer. Send word to all forces. This was just round one. The real fight is about to begin. As night fell over Earth, millions of people in the underground cities looked up at their artificial skies, their faces filled with worry and anticipation. They had done everything they could to prepare, but the true test was still ahead. Above them, the defenders readied themselves for the greatest battle humanity had ever faced. 3 days after the battle at Mars, the main swarm fleet arrived. It filled the space between Mars and Earth, a vast, dark cloud of ships. Earth's long-range cameras picked up thousands of vessels, each one larger than a city. Commander Miller watched as the swarm began to form an attack pattern. They're not even trying to talk this time, Miller observed. They're coming in full force. No species has ever fought back this well before, Dr. Wright replied, her voice calm yet tinged with awe. We've made them angry. The first wave of swarm ships advanced toward Earth. These ships were larger and more heavily shielded than the scout vessels that had tested Earth's defenses at Mars. But Earth had spent the last 3 days preparing new surprises. Watch Operation Hornet's Nest, Miller commanded, his voice filled with authority. Hundreds of small ships shot out from behind Earth's moon, where they had been hiding. These tiny ships, humanity's newest weapons, were designed to slip through the gaps in the swarm's shields, targeting weak points with precision. They darted through the air, moving in ways the swarm had never anticipated. Each pilot acted independently, using their creativity and resourcefulness to create chaos in the otherwise coordinated swarm ranks. Direct hit, shouted one of the controllers. One of the largest swarm ships exploded, taking 2 others with it. The human pilots cheered over their radios, their spirits lifted by the early success. But the swarm adapted quickly. They began to shift tactics, protecting their vulnerable spots and launching their own small fighters to counter the human ships. Fall back to Defense Line Alpha, Miller ordered. As Earth's ships retreated, the swarm followed, hoping to finish off the fleeing targets. But they had walked right into Earth's trap. Activate the Ghost Fleet, Dr. Wright said with a smile. Hidden satellites around Earth powered up, projecting hundreds of fake ship images. The swarm sensors couldn't differentiate between real ships and holograms, and their forces began firing at empty space. Meanwhile, the real human ships attacked from different directions, striking with precision and overwhelming the swarm's forces. "We're inside their command loop," Dr. Wright explained, watching the battle unfold. "They have to think as one before they act, but our pilots make their own choices instantly." The space around Earth lit up with explosions as the two fleets clashed. The swarm lost ship after ship, but they kept coming. They had numbers on their side, but humanity had ingenuity. However, the swarm soon revealed their own surprise. Several of their larger ships combined into one massive vessel, and it unleashed a powerful weapon blast that hit Earth's shield hard enough to make the whole barrier flicker. "Shield holding at 60%, reported an operator, his voice tense. Miller didn't hesitate. "Launch the EMP bombs. All of them." Dr. Wright had discovered that the swarm ships were connected by energy links, like a hive of insects. If Earth could break those links, the swarm's ability to coordinate would collapse. Thousands of EMP devices were launched by Earth's ships, and when they detonated, they shattered the energy connections between the swarm vessels. The giant combined swarm ship fell apart, its pieces scattering in the void. The swarm fleet was in chaos. "They're losing their coordination," Tom reported, his voice filled with disbelief. "The ships are responding to their central command, but it's too late." Without the hive mind's control, the swarm ships fought poorly, struggling to adapt. Earth's defenders pressed the advantage, destroying dozens more swarm vessels. The tide was turning, and humanity's creativity, adaptability, and determination were proving to be a match for the alien menace. As the battle raged on, the outcome seemed more uncertain than ever, but Earth had proven one thing: they would not go down without a fight. Finally, the swarm did something they had never done before. They retreated in disorder. As their dark ships pulled back from Earth's defenses, a cheer erupted in every command center across the planet. Humanity had won its first major battle against the swarm. It was a moment of triumph, a victory that no one had dared to hope for when the first warning came. But amidst the celebrations, Dr. Wright's voice cut through the noise, filled with concern. "Commander," she said quietly, "look at these readings." She pointed to the data on her screen. "The swarm ships are giving off new energy signals. They're changing." Miller leaned in, his eyes scanning the data. The retreating swarm ships were not just pulling back. They were adapting. "They're modifying themselves," he said, frowning, "growing stronger shields over their weak spots." "They're adapting." Dr. Wright nodded. "Yes, they are. But so will we." Miller took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. The first battle had been won, but the war was far from over. As the sun set on Earth's first space victory, he sent a message to all Earth's defenders. "Well done, everyone. But stay alert. The swarm will be back, and they'll be stronger." But now they know something important. Humanity fights back in space. Repair ships quickly began fixing the damage to Earth's shields, and defense platforms reloaded their weapons. Across the globe, scientists in labs pored over the battle data, working tirelessly to improve their technology. The first battle had been won, but it was clear to all that much more was at stake. The swarm would return, and humanity needed to be ready. 3 days later, they did. The swarm came back with a force twice as large as before, their ships now covered in thick armor, with no visible weak spots. This time, they didn't waste time with tactics. They charged straight at Earth, determined to overwhelm humanity's defenses. "They're angry now," Miller said, watching the massive fleet approach on the screens. "This is their full attack." At Guardian Site 1, Dr. Wright made a final check of Earth's improved defenses. The scientists had worked around the clock, strengthening every system, reinforcing every weapon. "All systems are ready," she reported. "Let them come." The swarm struck Earth's shields like a tidal wave. Every ship in their fleet fired simultaneously, creating an explosion of energy bigger than anything humanity had ever seen before. "Shields at 80%, reported the defense officer. "They're hitting harder than before." Miller stood calm, his eyes narrowed as he watched the attack. Launch Operation Thunderstorm, he ordered. Hidden beneath Earth's oceans, massive weapons platforms rose into the water. These were ancient alien weapons that had been discovered and improved by human engineers. They were stronger now, more efficient, and ready to make a difference. The platforms fired upward, catching the swarm by surprise. Direct hits, shouted Tom from his station. Their new armor isn't as strong underneath, but the swarm had learned from their last defeat. Their ships broke apart, splitting into thousands of smaller vessels to become harder targets. They swarmed toward Earth's defense platforms, overwhelming them with sheer numbers. "They're trying to overwhelm us with numbers," Dr. Wright observed, her voice steady but laced with concern. "Just like real insects." Miller's expression hardened. "Then let's give them a surprise." He turned to the command officer. "Activate the mirror shields." Humanity's newest invention, the mirror shields, were designed to reflect enemy fire back at them. As the swarm's weapons collided with Earth's defenses, the energy bounced back, destroying hundreds of small ships in the process. The space around Earth turned into a battlefield. Swarm ships exploded everywhere as their attacks were deflected back at them. Yet, despite the losses, the swarm kept coming. They were willing to sacrifice thousands of ships in order to break through Earth's defenses. "Shield power dropping," warned an operator. "Down to 40%. Then Dr. Wright noticed something strange. "Commander, look at their attack pattern," she said, her voice suddenly tense. "The swarm ships are forming a giant circle around Earth. In the center of the circle, energy is beginning to build." Miller watched as the swarm's ships formed a massive formation, their energy gathering in the center like a storm preparing to strike. "They're combining all their weapons," Dr. Wright said. "One massive shot to break our shields." Miller had mere seconds to decide. He understood the gravity of the situation. If that blast hit Earth's shields, they would likely fail. But there might be a way to turn the tables. "All ships, pull back behind Earth," he ordered. "Activate Project Mirror Ball." As the swarm fired their enormous energy blast, Earth's engineers activated their latest defense. The shield didn't just reflect the energy, it absorbed it. The energy was channeled through hidden stations around the planet, then fired back at the swarm as one concentrated beam. The swarm never expected their own energy to be used against them. The beam cut through their fleet like a knife, destroying hundreds of ships in seconds. "It worked!" Dr. Wright exclaimed. "Their fleet is split in half." The swarm ships were now divided. Without their combined weapon, they were vulnerable. Earth's ships charged forward, attacking from all directions. Pilots flew in fast, hitting weak spots with precision, dodging return fire, and taking down swarm ships one by one. The space around Earth lit up with explosions as the swarm's perfect circle formation broke apart. The coordinated attacks fell apart as the swarm ships struggled without their central command. Then, in an unexpected turn, the largest swarm ship, their command center, turned and fled. The rest of the swarm fleet followed, retreating in disarray. The command center erupted into cheers. Humanity had won the biggest space battle in Earth's history. The forces of Earth had shown that even the most formidable enemies could be beaten through creativity, determination, and teamwork. But as Miller looked at the screens, his victory was tempered with caution. The retreating swarm ships were sending a signal not to Earth but deep into space. Dr. Wright quickly decoded it, and her face went pale. "They're calling for help," she said quietly. "They're calling other swarm fleets from across the galaxy." Miller nodded grimly. "Then we'll be ready for them, too." Turning to his command staff, he gave the order. "Send word to all Earth's forces." This victory was just the beginning. "Just the beginning," Miller said, his voice calm yet determined. "We need to prepare for an even bigger fight." As celebrations erupted across the world in the aftermath of Earth's first victory over the swarm, the true work had just begun. Scientists and engineers, fueled by the knowledge of what humanity was capable of, immediately returned to their labs and workstations. Their task was clear: prove that humanity could not only defeat the swarm but continue to do so no matter how many times the swarm returned, no matter how much stronger they became. Earth had demonstrated its strength, But the real test would come when the swarm regrouped and returned. A month passed after the Great Battle. The remaining swarm ships stayed on the outer edge of the solar system, biding their time, waiting for reinforcements to arrive. Earth used this time wisely to further improve its defenses. Every weapon, every shield, every ship, and every technology had been enhanced and optimized. Humanity had learned from the first engagement and had adapted. Now it was ready for anything. In the command center, Commander Miller stood, reviewing the latest updates on Earth's defense systems. His hands hovered over the controls as he studied the data. His mind was focused, but a sense of calm determination filled him. Earth wasn't just ready for another fight. It was ready for whatever came next. But then, an urgent voice broke the stillness. "Sir," Tom called from his station. Long-range sensors detect multiple swarm fleets approaching. At least 5 of them. Miller's expression remained calm, but his mind raced. He turned to Dr. Wright, who was already studying the incoming data. "They're bigger than the fleet we fought," she said, her voice steady but concerned. "Much bigger." Miller paused for a moment, his eyes narrowing as he processed the information. Then, a slight smile crept onto his face. "Good," he said softly. "Let's show them what humanity does when backed into a corner." He pressed a button on his command console, activating the quantum transmitter. Humanity's newest invention was capable of broadcasting messages across the galaxy, and Miller intended to use it to send a message not just to the swarm but to every alien civilization watching. He was determined that Earth would not be seen as weak any longer. "Activate Operation Lighthouse," Miller ordered. Around Earth, thousands of hidden platforms began emerging from their secret locations. Not just in orbit, but from beneath the surface of the oceans, inside asteroids, and even beneath the surface of Mars. Each platform was armed with the most advanced weapons and shields humanity had ever created. The technology had evolved far beyond the original alien designs. Earth hadn't just copied alien technology, it had improved upon it and created something entirely new. The quantum transmitter flickered to life, and Miller stepped forward, delivering a message that would reverberate across the stars. His voice carried through the vast emptiness of space, reaching the swarm and any other species that might be listening. "You see 5 fleets approaching Earth," Miller began. "We see 5 chances to prove our point." On his signal, Earth's defense platforms began to form a new pattern. Energy surged between them, creating an intricate web of power that had never been seen before. It was a show of humanity's ingenuity and determination, a promise that they would not back down. "Humanity does not seek war," Miller continued. "But we will not run. We will not hide. We will not surrender." The approaching swarm fleets moved closer, their ships blocking out the stars. They believed that numbers would win the day, but they were wrong. What the swarm didn't realize was that what they had seen in the first battle wasn't humanity's best defense. It wasn't even close. Miller's voice rang out again, unwavering. "What you saw last month wasn't our best defense. Let us show you what humanity can really do." Dr. Wright activated the new defense grid, and energy flowed between the platforms. A massive shield expanded not just around Earth but throughout the entire inner solar system. As the first wave of swarm ships launched their attack, their powerful weapons slammed into Earth's shield with the force of a star. But nothing happened. The shield held firm. "We took the gifts our guardians left us," Miller continued. "We studied them, improved them, and then we made them into something you've never seen before." With the shield holding steady, Earth's defenders launched their counterattack. The improved weapons tore through the swarm's defenses as if they weren't even there. Whole fleets of swarm ships vanished in seconds. For the first time in history, the swarm hesitated. "This is humanity's final warning," Miller declared, his voice carrying through space, reaching every civilization that might be listening. "We don't want your territory. We don't seek to rule. But we will defend ourselves. Earth is off limits. Spread the word." For the first time, the swarm fleet commanders understood they had encountered something they couldn't overcome. A species that grew stronger with every attack. A species that adapted and improved. Their remaining ships turned and fled, disappearing into the depths of space. In the command center, Cheers erupted. Humanity had won again. But Dr. Wright, ever vigilant, noticed something on her screen. She called out to Miller. "Sir," she said, "we're getting responses. Other civilizations. They're sending messages of peace. They want to talk." Miller smiled. "Then let's talk." He pressed the broadcast button one final time. "To any species watching," he said, his voice strong, "Earth welcomes peaceful contact. We offer friendship and trade. But remember what you saw today. Remember what happens when you force humanity to defend itself." As the sun rose over Earth the next morning, the planet felt different. Humanity had proven itself not just as survivors, but as a power to be respected in the galaxy. It wasn't just a species that could fight. It was a species that could adapt, improve, and grow stronger in the face of adversity. At Guardian Site 1, Dr. Wright discovered one last message from Earth's ancient guardians. Her eyes widened as she read it aloud, her voice full of awe. "We chose well. Earth's children have grown strong. The galaxy is ready for them now. The time of hiding is over. Humanity is ready to take its place among the stars." The message was clear. Humanity's time had come. They had earned their place in the galaxy, and the universe would never look at them the same way again.